More than 50 years after two teens from Onondaga County were brutally murdered, the case remains cold. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. Now state police are hoping to crack that case and find the killer. 14-year-old Mary Ann Marzullo and 13-year-old Jacqueline Saunders were last seen August 11, 1967. The two were walking alongside Brewerton Road in Mattydale after going to the Mattydale Field Days. When the girls never made it home, their families went searching, then reported them missing. Their bodies were found a day later in a field on Oxbow Road in Cicero. An autopsy revealed they had been strangled. No charges ever were filed. Our Dan Messinio is live in Cicero tonight after digging deeper into this cold case. Dan?
And Matt, this area in Cicero looks quite different than it did decades ago. State police say the bodies were found around here, both of them strangled to death. And after several decades, a lot of leads, and just as many interviews, this case remains cold. It's been one of those frustrating cases for New York State police investigators, one in which they can't bring any closure to a grieving family.
Maybe we can solve these the double homicide and bring some kind of justice for these two families.
But so far, solving the murder of 14-year-old Mary Ann Marzullo and 13-year-old Jacqueline Saunders has proved difficult.
It's one of those questions of, again, who done it?
Generations of New York law enforcement have tried, but still the person or people who strangled these two girls to death in 1967 has evaded capture.
The person who did this crime most likely would know that this wasn't a heavily traveled road.
It was a summer night in the late 60s. The two girls were having a good time at the Mattydale Field Days. Around 10:30 that night, the girls walked to McKinley's Market on Main Street in North Syracuse and called home to say they were on their way. When they didn't come home, families started to worry and called authorities. Just hours later, a fisherman found their bodies lying by Chittenango Creek in Cicero.
This is an opportunity to drop off the bodies here, leave the bodies here, knowing that he may not get caught.
After more than 5 decades, questions still swirl. The timeline of that night is missing pieces. How did the teen girls get from Route 11 to Oxbow Road in Cicero? Was the killer familiar with the area? After all these years, no one has ever been charged for this crime.
People may not have any idea of the case itself. Maybe they weren't aware of what happened 51 years ago, but certainly it gives them and us an opportunity to discuss it, to put it in the spotlight again, and also let the families know that we haven't forgotten them, and we continue to work these cases because certainly someone needs to be held accountable, and they also someone needs to be brought to justice.
And state police are hoping that someone might see this. It might jog a memory, or someone might be emboldened to come forward with the information so they could finally close this cold case. Reporting live in Cicero, I'm Dan Messinio.
And Dan, we've posted this story on our website, also our Facebook page. People are already starting to comment. Maybe they'll dig something up here. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you. For more information on this cold case, head to our website, CNY Central.